Hello, my name's Kevin Hill. I am recording today to give you a overview of the Emporia View Generation 2, but mostly an overview of an UK installation, specifically UK installation, because when I went looking for products and found this particular product, I didn't find anything that was, I thought, very UK standard centric, and it left me not knowing whether in fact this was going to work for me in my situation, and consequently this video is simply an attempt at giving other people an understanding of my experience. Well, I've never done this kind of thing before, so please bear with me in terms of what this comes out like. It may never make it onto YouTube, it may never make it out there, but if it does, then please bear with me in terms of the quality of it. It may be pretty poor, but if it gives you a little bit of useful information, then hopefully it's done its job. So here we are in my hall. I have what I imagine to be a relatively standard UK installation, where the power comes into the building and goes into a cupboard where all the sort of kit happens. That it contains the gas as well. But this is where the power comes in. This is where the consumer unit is. One of the differences that I found on from all the videos I could find, including the single UK video that I found regarding this installation, was that the American ones show consumer units which are absolutely massive. Not even in the same ballpark in terms of the size of my consumer unit. This is why I was wondering whether in fact it fitted in a classic UK installation, and the only other UK installation I found didn't have a consumer unit anything like mine. So I thought, well, is it going to fit? But now it does fit. I thought, well, it would be useful to show you that it does, and to give some sort of UK centric installation video that's very specific to what I think is a standard UK installation, so that you can understand that. So let me show you what my consumer unit and my cupboard looks like. Everything that was done on the consumer unit, I hasten to add, was not done by me. I'm not a qualified electrician. Everything that was done inside the consumer unit was done by the electrician. All I've done is advise him in terms of the things I knew about it, and indeed I've done the tidy up of the external implementation here after he's gone. Okay, here is the consumer unit, here is my cupboard, and if I give you an idea of scale, let me put my hand up against here, that's the size of my consumer unit. So it's not horribly big. Comparing that to the US installations, their consumer units are absolutely massive. And this product as a whole, which you can see just down here, tucked away behind here in this little square here, that is the Emporia View unit. And in the American installation videos I found, the intention was, it appears to be that sits inside the consumer unit itself, that isn't outside but tucked inside. You can clearly see that there's no way that's going to fit inside there. For a UK installation with a consumer unit that's the same kind of size as my one, you can't put it inside, and that's when this is the concern I had. This is the sort of, well, is it actually going to work? So the way it works, and the way the US intended it to be, it seems, is that this unit would typically sit inside the consumer unit, and the only thing that would poke out would be this, which is the aerial, and the aerial is used for publishing out to the Wi-Fi, and thus out to the Emporia's data centers, publish all your data, so that when you come to view it on a device, it's available to you even if you're not in the house. So the intention was that from their specs, is the only thing that comes outside the consumer is indeed that aerial that's just there. So obviously that's not the way mine still is, and obviously there was no way that this was going to fit. This unit here was going to fit inside that box there. I mean, we've already ascertained that. Here you can see a picture of the inside of the consumer unit. You can see that there's almost no space around the outside of the breakers, even without the clamps. the clamps have been put in by the electrician. You can see that there's a lot of them over on the left hand side where the live cables have been extended in order to get them to even fit. But when he did get the clamps in and that's all been done, you can see that the clamps basically come out, the cables from the clamps come out here and they go down, half down that side, and then if I move over, the other half down that side. The Emporia unit itself can support up to 16 individual circuits, and up to and all the way up from 1 phase to 3 phase. My domestic supply is only 1 phase, so there's only a single input clamp there. The main clamp there goes in there and goes into the top of the unit. You can just see it going into the top of the unit just here. And then the other 2 blanked off things you can see there are these phase 2 and phase 3 should you need it. I don't need it because I've only got phase 1 or 1 phase. And then down that side you can see a whole lot of circuits going in, and then on this side a whole lot of other circuits going in. So as I said, it supports up to 16, and I've got 14 circuits. You can see that I've got 14 because you can see the numbers at the bottom of those things go all the way up to 14. So I've taken, the electrician managed to get 13 of those clamps in, and then the 14th one, which is actually for the monitoring the Emporia consumption itself, which is on that one there. He didn't manage to fit that inside, so I put that on the outside here. So I'm monitoring my Emporia consumption via this clamp here, but all the other ones are inside. This device is powered from the unit itself. So the Emporia power comes from that breaker you can see just there. It comes out the bottom here, comes down, if I can find my finger, comes down here, down to here, down to here, under here, and pops in the bottom here. Look, where's my finger? I can't even see it. It goes into the bottom there. So that's how the unit is powered. It's powered directly from one of the breakers inside the box. So let's just quickly summarise the connections we've got. We've obviously just talked about the power. We have talked about the main single phase input, which is at the top there. And of course we have talked about the those ones there and these ones here, which are the circuit monitors. The final thing is which we talked about a lot earlier on, is this cable here, which comes all the way over here, and basically is a Wi-Fi aerial. So and my Wi-Fi, my nearest Wi-Fi access point is right outside here, so very close. So I don't have any problems with that. It's on a cable because the intention, of course, as we mentioned earlier on, is that this box gets installed in the US market, gets installed inside the consumer unit, and therefore you need some way of punching out from that so that the aerial is on the outside. Otherwise you've got the whole metal box Faraday cage type affair. So that's the basic installation. I think this is a standard UK consumer unit. I think this is therefore a very sort of standard implementation. Downsides, I'd say that the Emporia unit itself, this thing here, because it's intended to be inside it's sort of stuffed inside the consumer unit, doesn't actually have any mounting points. So I'm lucky enough that the cables were long enough to get to this point here. You can see that there's still a little bit of spare on some of them, and because it's sitting behind the main negative and positive cables that are running from the meter into the consumer unit, it actually sits there without any other support apart from the sort of all the cables holding it in place. So it's I think that's a bit silly, but as I said, it isn't intended to be inside the consumer unit, and you probably wouldn't want to be punching holes in your consumer unit to mount it. So it probably makes sense for the intended market, but could potentially be a bit annoying if you're mounting it outside the consumer unit like I am. So a quick summary of what's in the box. I mean, this is probably done by other videos better than me, but let me give you a quick summary just so as you know, if you only want to watch mine. Sorry about the unprofessional nature of this. The top bit here is is where the Emporia unit itself comes. That sits at the top there, all good. Next one is accessories, which includes the main clamps for the phase inputs, the main inputs into your system. The UK, this one here, which came off Amazon, came with 2 clamps in there, so it will support up to 2-phase supply. Mine's only, as I said, 1 phase, so single phase. So I've got a spare one of those available, and it comes with a little accessories box which contains the power cable which we saw coming from the breaker to the Emporia unit, and all the little blanking pieces for the outside for the jack plugs that you're not using. So that's what that is. Shove that aside there. And then you can buy different versions of this. As far as I understand it, the main Emporia unit is the same for all the versions. It's just that you can get different versions which have different numbers of cables with the clamps. This is a 1 box of 8 clamps, and I have another box of 8 clamps. So I bought the 16 clamp version, so I can monitor up to 16 circuits. And indeed, as you've seen, I'm actually monitoring 14. That's all I've got, so I'm not expecting there to be, I'm not expecting in the long term to have, too many more. As it is, my consumer unit doesn't really fit it. So, so that's the basic box, and I've got sort of 2 of these. I think I've got 2 left, because I've got 14 in the cupboard, obviously, and there's two remaining. So, the reason why I went for this system is it was very price. It's a good economical system. It isn't hugely extensible in the UK as things stand. I'll explain that in a minute. There are some other bits and pieces that Emporia do, but it can only support 16. This is the maximum it can support. I can't go and plug in 2 more after I plugged in 16. I can't plug in 18. So if you want something more extensible, then you'll probably want to go for one of the more expensive products. I mean, the SMAPI product, which is one of the ones that I looked at, is a much more extensible product. It's a commercial, sort of semi-commercial product. It's much more extensible, much more adaptable, but also much more expensive. I mean, an equivalent setup for what I've just done here, which cost me £150, would probably cost somewhere in the region of £800 to £1,000 for the SMAPI system. So not at all comparable, really. I would love to have a SMAPI system. It would be fun to play around with it, but it seems to do the same kind of things, but SMAPI does a lot more. The sort of main part of the Emporia stuff, which I think is a bit disappointing for UK customers right now, and this is really important to note, is that what they do is they do a smart plug system, and this is really very cool. So that the smart plug integrates with the app, and I'll show you the app in a minute. The smart plug integrates with the app and allows you to section off a particular device or a particular extension lead that's plugged into your smart plug, and record the consumption on that particular device or set of devices, which means that if your circuits aren't granular enough for you to record to get to the sort of the level that you want, you can you plug a smart plug in, and basically you tell it what circuit that smart plug's on, and it will subtract the power from that circuit when it's showing you the data on the screen, and it will show that plug as a separate device. So you can sort of, if you were worried about a particular computer, or you were worried about a particular device of some sort and you wanted to monitor that separately, you simply plug that device into one of these smart plugs and you would get that on the app. Big caveat, that doesn't work in the UK at the moment. They're only doing US based 120 volt devices. I spoke to them on chat and they said they weren't intending to get into that. They were very busy doing other things at this point in time, and that they weren't intending to build one of those for the UK market. I think that's a really big downside, and I think that I will talk to them again and try and see if I can convince them to do that. But at the moment, that's a kind of a really very good upgrade to the circuit monitoring, and I think it's really disappointing that they are not supporting a UK version of that. I don't know whether there's technical challenges in that, or whether they just can't be bothered to go out and source a supplier who's prepared to make a 240 volt version of it and market it and have it marketed in the UK. I don't know, but it's clearly a shame, but it didn't stop me from purchasing the product. Okay, so what have I done to test this system? What have I play around with it? What have I achieved so far? I've only had the system for a week, and actually only had the additional circuits, all the other circuits set up for a couple of days. So what I've done today is I did the tidying up, as you saw. It looks a bit tidier in the cupboard than it used to, trust me. But the other thing I've done today is to just go around and test a few things. So one of my things on my to-do list was, is it recording properly? Do we know whether it's recording accurate data, or is it just nonsense? Because there was some question mark from the professional guy who I spoke to about systems that didn't monitor the voltage and therefore couldn't give proper sort of wattage. They could only give amperage. Now, I don't know enough about that stuff, if I'm perfectly honest. But I got, very, very simplistic understanding of things. But what did I do to see whether it seemed to be working to me? Well, the very simplest thing I did was was this. So I took this. What is it? It's a light fitting that I found out in the garage. What's more important though is it's a standard bayonet fitting, and tucked in the top there I have found an old, well, not an old, it's a new one actually, but a no longer used, because we don't use these in the house anymore, 100-watt bulb. So I popped that in there, and I've gone round and I've plugged it in. So I've plugged it in on circuit, and I've seen that the app records an approximate 100-watt additional load on that circuit. Well, that seems to work. And then I've been around all the different circuits in the house that are socket-based ones that contain sockets, and done the same thing, and made sure that those circuits on the Emporium do register a 100-watt increase in their load when I turn the light on. And an example of seeing that, I don't know if this is going to work, it's pretty poor. This is a circuit that I've got running, which is from upstairs, and this is a second by second thing. If you scroll back a little while, I did this just recently. See, it's changing the scale there. It changes the scale somewhat randomly, but you'll see why it changes the scale in a minute, because back here, there we go, look, there's me turning turning the bulb on twice. Once was in one socket, and then once is in another socket in the room, just to sort of make sure that they were all on the same circuit as far as the Emporium was concerned. So that's how I've tested it. Nothing special, but enough that I now sort of are confident that the circuits I think I've got make sense with what appears to be on those circuits. So now I've gone back and modified all my name. You can see that I've tried to make sure that my naming is covering everything that those things are covering. You can see there's a couple. There's number 7 and number 8, which has wires coming out of the circuit breakers for circuit 7 and 8, but I don't know what they're used for, if anything, at this point in time. That's what I've done to test and check it, and in short, it seems operational enough. So, to conclude, as I think we must, this product, the Emporia View Generation 2, has, to my mind, been a very sane purchase. Its price point is very good, certainly compared with some of the opposition, and the price point compared with perhaps my monthly electricity bill is certainly less than a month's bill. So from that perspective, if it allowed us to work out some things, to understand where we're consuming power, where we don't need to be, and to knock some of that bill down a little bit, then it won't take long to pay for the price. So I think it's a good quality, a good value for money product. It's been installation has been easy. The software setup's been easy. all up, it's been you know, really simplistic. So I can't fault it really. There's a few minor issues which I mentioned in the video, but it really is a very sort of a very reasonable product as far as I'm concerned. So, have you enjoyed this video? Has it been helpful? If it has, then you know, I'm pleased to have been of some use. Please feel free to put comments, ask questions or whatever down in the section below. If it hasn't been helpful, or if you haven't enjoyed it, then you know, I've got to ask why you're still watching. But if you have, well done. It must have been quite grueling. But equally, if you haven't enjoyed it, then tell me why. I know I've recorded it at the wrong aspect ratio for most of this stuff, so I know that I haven't done a particularly good job as my first video. But nonetheless, if you be gentle and you give me some constructive criticism, then that too will be quite helpful. Worth a note, just in case anyone worries, no meerkats were hurt in the filming of this video, so we're all good. If you've enjoyed it, then maybe see some of my other videos if I ever get around to doing any others. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.